Welcome to our February Town Hall meeting of Ascend 2.0. My name is Mark DeMeo. I'm the Program Director for Ascend 2.0, and I'll be your host for today's meeting. We're really excited to have you all here. Our webinar is going to be recorded today also. We have over 1,000 participants, and we appreciate you all being here. However, we are going to mute participants, and we have a Q&A function because your feedback and questions are really important. Please use the Q&A function within the webinar so that we can answer your questions accordingly. Just real quickly, briefly, an agenda. We're really excited to be taking the covers off Ascend 2.0 for you all. We've been working very hard and long here in planning and executing. We've gotten the program underway. So we wanted to give you an overview of that program, some of the highlights of the things that are going to be coming, some highlights of things that are going to be changing as we go forward. Talk about how we want to manage that change across campus. It is a rather significant change for all of us. We have a number of different ways that we are going to help manage that change across campus, and also show you opportunities where you all from campus can get involved and can be continuously informed about the program. We'll also leave time at the end for questions and answers, and we're really looking forward to getting some of your feedback for our initiative here. What I'd first like to do is welcome our executive sponsors. These three individuals have dedicated a significant amount of time and effort into helping guide our program to a successful completion. Allison Baird-James, our Interim Vice Chancellor and Chief Financial Officer, Michael Beck, our Vice Chancellor of Administration, and Roger Wakamoto, Vice Chancellor of Research and Creative Activities. And right now, I'd like to give them just an opportunity to say a few words to you in welcome. Good morning, Allison.
Good morning, Mark. It is so wonderful to see everyone here today, and we're so glad that you came to really work with us and hear about this really important initiative that we have going for UCLA. So, as you know, our financial systems and the various processes we needed to put into place to make them work originated back in the 1980s. And UCLA was very different back then. I'm not sure they would even have dreamt that we would be what we are today. So we have grown, we've made great achievements since then. We're now a $9+ billion university with over 46,000 students and $1.6 billion in research. So we're huge. So as you know, really putting in Ascend 2.0, this is really going to be able to empower all of us to provide the support needed to empower this continued growth and excellence in the years to come with a modern, robust system and streamlined process. So as executive sponsors, we'll champion this program's mission, vision, and guiding principles, and are committed to providing the strategic support required to ensure that Ascend 2.0 is successful and modernizes and transforms UCLA's financial systems. But we can't do this without all of you. Your participation is the key to ensure the success of the program. So we ask you all to contribute to this very important step in UCLA's history. With your help, we can make this implementation successful. So now I'll pass it over to Michael Beck.
Great, thanks, Allison, and I appreciate all of the leadership throughout the Ascend project, and it's fun to have you in this new role as we move forward with Ascend 2.0. So in the best of circumstances, these projects are difficult, and we know now that UCLA was not under the best circumstances when we moved forward with the original Ascend project. I'm glad we were able to take a pause and to identify and resolve program weaknesses. Today, I'm confident that we have the right project management team in place and have strengthened the systems and processes that are so important for a successful project. I'm not just referring to the technology, but from an operational perspective as well. For those of you involved in the initial project, thank you for all that you did to support that effort, and thank you for your patience as we've readjusted. I'm confident we now have the structure, the rigor, the systems, and the processes in place to better support this critical project. We are better prepared and fully committed to supporting the core team and the campus community as we move forward. So thank you all for being here today, and thank you for the team for bringing us forward. So now I'd like to turn it over to Roger Wakamoto, the Vice Chancellor for Research and Creative activities, as well as the third executive sponsor.
So thank you very much, Allison and Michael, and my comments will be very brief. First, I want to state that Ascend 2.0 is strongly supported by all of us. I mean, there's just no question about it. Simply stated, we have an outdated system and we just have to update it. Like any major effort, I expect we're going to experience bumps in the road, but we all hope that you are all committed and will work with the Ascend team, because I am a firm believer that we will jointly overcome any obstacles that we encounter. So I endorse what Allison and Michael said, and I want to thank you all for participating and lending your full support.
Thank you, Allison, Michael, and Roger. We really appreciate your support and guidance, and look forward to working with you, as we move forward. I also want to introduce our program owners. These are the individuals that are responsible for making strategic decisions regarding our scope, our timing, and our schedules. And they represent the various different functions, both from a centralized perspective, and also we have representation representing the schools. These folks meet on a weekly basis, and we spend a lot of time, working through the details and sweating the details to make sure that we're moving forward in the proper place. And they also give advice and guidance to our executive sponsors. I'm not going to introduce each one of them for the sake of brevity so that we get on, but I just want you to know that they're all committed and in helping us move the program forward. You will be hearing from several of them here in the next section. Selena, OT, and Yoon are going to take us through an overview of the various components of Ascend 2.0. And with that, I will allow them to get started.
Thank you, Mark. So good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. So I want to start by just touching on what Allison and the other executive sponsors have already acknowledged, which is this is Ascend 2.0. So many of you may recall that Ascend 1.0 did start back in 2018. This was back when the program was really a pure Oracle Cloud financials implementation. So the project continued for 2 years before being paused and then restarted again last year. Since then, it's transformed really from a pure Oracle implementation to now include Jagger as our procurement solution. And this is what we call Ascend 2.0, which includes a Jagger 1.0 release this fall and a 2.0 release that coincides with our final Oracle ERP go live, which is December 2024. So one way to understand this is to talk about the end result. When we're done with Ascend 2.0, we'll essentially end up with three major components of the implementation. We'll have Bruin Buy Plus, which is supported by the Jagger technology. We'll have Bruin Finance, which is supported by Oracle Cloud technology. And then this blue circle on top really represents our new chart of accounts. And it's the work that's currently underway to replace our current FAU, and it will be incorporated both into Bruin Buy Plus and Bruin Finance. So on the last slide, we talked about what's changing in terms of the COA, and this is on the right-hand side of this slide. The COA is how we track our financial transactions in our subsystems that ultimately end up in our GL. So we'll finally have a modern and robust chart of accounts that will affect financial data that flows through our various finance, research, and budget systems. On the left-hand side of this is the various technology changes that are going to take place as we implement Ascend. So replacing our mainframe, retiring old redundant financial systems, moving from Hyperion to Oracle technology, integrating Jagger, and then using PPM to manage our sponsored research financials. It's really important to emphasize that right alongside with all of these technology changes, we'll also change and improve our business processes where it makes sense. So all of these cumulative changes, the business processes, the COA, the technology will ultimately give us better tools, processes, and reporting, resulting in improvements in making payments to vendors, ability to manage our budgets, and to more easily and accurately prepare financial reporting. Why transform? Well, I was hoping to skip over this slide because I was hoping that by now everyone will agree that UCLA cannot wait any longer for this transformation. As Allison mentioned, our operating system, we're operating on a legacy system that's 4 decades old. And among other benefits that we've already talked about, modernizing our finance systems will allow us to spend less time collecting data and more time analyzing it and making data-driven decisions. So it's important for you to know how we as program leaders are making our decisions. What are the principles that we're using to guide our decision making? And this slide will show you what those 6 principles are. And you can read it on your own, but I do want to emphasize a couple of principles. First, this isn't just replacing one system with another. I will say this again. This is an opportunity to transform not just our technology, but also our processes so that we can make things more efficient and streamlined where possible. Second is related to the principle of accountable governance. We're following a different structure than the original Ascend program, and Jennifer will talk about this more later in the presentation. So I hope you'll take time to read the rest of the guiding principles on this slide. So what are the program benefits? You can see the slide, but let's touch on a few of these. So to talk about the ones on top, effectiveness, efficiency, and cost effectiveness, efficiency, and cost effectiveness. So a few things here. We will spend less time waiting for data and collecting data and more time analyzing it and making decisions. Related to efficiency, many of our processes, which today cause significant challenges for all of you out in the departments and delays, will be improved and streamlined. And then just on cost effectiveness, we're using outdated financial systems, and it's expensive and risky to support these systems. And we will be able to retire many of these as a result of this implementation. Before addressing the other 3 program benefits, let me just say this. There's no sugarcoating it. This transformation will probably be painful at times. There will be a steep learning curve by everyone. But on the other side of it, we will have much more user-friendly systems and tools that are scalable as our institution grows and as it evolves. Our data will be more reliable and our reporting capabilities will be more flexible. So we have to have our eyes on the prize. It is absolutely worth the effort. So we've had a pause and restart since Ascend 1.0. And you might be thinking, why will this time be different or better? Well, we've learned from those challenges in the first phase and are approaching Ascend 2.0 with more effective strategies. And I've mentioned some of these already. And in addition, I will just point out that a couple of items from this slide, which is that we are balancing our internal and external resources differently than we did the first time. In addition, we are much more focused and invested in change management, hypercare, and post-go life sustainment. So next, OT, Yoon and I will walk through some of the specifics of the project in greater detail.
So thanks, Selena. I don't know if anyone's more excited about bringing Bruin by Plus to the university than I am. I'm going to walk you through really quick some items here. So Bruin by Plus will give you an Amazon-like experience. We're going to have catalogs there for you that you can shop just as you do in Amazon. We're going to have the ability to communicate directly with the public as well as vendors within the tool. This will decrease the amount of time that it takes to talk to procurement to get things done. There'll be a lot of visibility and transparency. You'll have dashboards at your fingertips so that you can see what's happening with your requisitions, your purchase orders, and your invoices. And we'll be able to eliminate the back and forth that we currently have with procurement and the departments, because things will happen in the tool. And we're looking to move a lot of the approval processing up front in the process, where is now a lot of things happen in the background. So the work stream. Jagger, or Bruin by Plus, I should say, is going to be released into 2 releases. Release 1 still will sit on our current mainframe. However, you will be able to go into the tool. You will have a different experience than you currently do in Bruin by. The business process behind the scene with the mainframe will remain the same, but we expect that the timelines to process a transaction will be much quicker. We will integrate with current systems to ensure that there's cohesiveness across the application. And there is some upfront data cleanup that needs to take place. So we're working right now on some plans to reach out to you to help with that cleanup. There will be training for R1 as well. I want to emphasize in R1, we will still be sitting on the mainframe. So some processes will still feel the same. However, when we move to R2, that's when we really will get the experience that we're looking for with this transformation. That will go live concurrently with Oracle. The P2P functionality there will be, for lack of a better word, probably amazing compared to what we have today. It'll be a full integration with Oracle. And also there will be additional training because Oracle, of course, will be a different backbone than what we have with the mainframe. And PAC will be archived. So that system will no longer be available to us, but will be in a cloud environment. So it'll be a much more efficient system that we have. So the implementation of BruinBuy Plus, first there was a design session where we had workshops and we reviewed to confirm the current business process that we have, and then get into Jagger and redesign it so that it would be configured for what we need. We had listening sessions with many departments around campus to ensure that we were gathering feedback from you all. Then we moved to the build and integrate phase, which should be over in March, where we were developing the actual solution and putting the forms and the other requirements that are needed for Jagger to give you that guided buying experience we're looking for. Next, after that, we'll be going to the internal testing, which will be starting soon. And from there, we'll have our user acceptance testing and then go live in October of this year. So the testing and training roadmap is simple. We're currently in the process of developing that training curriculum. And once that's finished and approved, system testing can begin. We'll be forwarding the opportunity around to the campus for certain areas and certain users to get involved in that user acceptance testing. And then we'll have train the trainer sessions so that as you get new folks in your departments, you can train them as well. And we'll have a better utilization of the system. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Selena.
Thank you, Oti. Okay, we can advance to the next slide. So before we get to the chart of accounts, I think it's helpful for you to understand how our UCLA entities and affiliates are or are not included in this financial transformation. So first, let me point out that our UC Office of the President has already implemented Oracle. Of the other affiliates that are shown here, the UCLA campus is the only unit currently implementing Oracle ERP Cloud. So what that means is the other units' finance systems will be integrated with our new system. Okay. So we are a large organization, over 9 billion plus in operating budget. We have in this slide, you can see we have our GL in the middle and all these subsystems around it that feeds data into our GL. The systems that are shown here just represent a small sample of the many boundary systems across UCLA. And in the future, some of these subsystems that you see here on this slide, they will remain as integrations, but others will become actual subledgers within Oracle. All of these boundary systems speak a common language. It's the language of the chart of accounts, which is the framework for how we track financial transactions. So our project team, along with our campus partners, are already working to map UCLA's current chart of accounts called FAU, full accounting unit, to our future state Oracle chart of accounts. So this is it's a collaborative effort. Some elements of the mapping that occurs here from our FAU to our COA will be done, can be done by the program team, while other mapping activities will involve campus departments and already are. So on this slide, you can see that our current FAU contains 8 segments, and and you can see what those segments are. And our new chart of accounts, our future state, will include 10 segments. So let's delve a little deeper on the next slide into the COA. So the future state of our chart of accounts will align closely with the UC common chart of accounts that are required for all UC campuses beginning this next fiscal year. Our COA will identify the 10 segments that are shown here. So you can see it's entity, financial unit, account, fund, transaction, program, portfolio, flex, activity, and intercompany. You can see in the orange row at the bottom here is an example of this full chart string. So again, we are already working to complete the work on the chart of accounts. We are moving forward quickly with the COA. And I want to talk about why. The first reason is that the majority of our COA didn't require new decisions or changes from Ascend 1.0 to 2.0. We did review and enhance for the segments, but the foundational structure of our COA is something we've been talking about for some time, for many years, in fact. Secondly, completing the COA is our first critical milestone that all the rest of our work is really reliant on. Not just the Jagger piece or the Oracle modules that we're going to implement, but also the existing subsystems that we'll need to retrofit with the new COA. And then lastly, I mentioned earlier, there is a hard deadline of July 2023. All of the UC campuses are required to submit our financial data to the Office of the President using their common chart of accounts. So as we're creating values and mapping our current FAU to our new COA, we're also mapping our new COA to the institution-wide common chart of accounts. I know I've just glazed over the COA in this initial town hall, and there is so much more to share and much more to come, especially for the subgroup of you who will be more involved based on the nature of your role. So I'll end here by briefly touching on the timeline for our COA. As I said, the work that's currently in process is really the cornerstone of our future progress on the rest of the program. It's not on this timeline, but it's worth mentioning is that last fall through November, we finalized the chart of accounts planning and design structure. Then in December, we began to engage campus in the next stage, which is really developing the chart of accounts values. And you can see here the various efforts that are shown on this slide has both blue arrows and yellow arrows. And this is intended to show where campus is involved in the work that's shown in the blue arrow. And then the yellow arrow is where the program development team is involved in the effort. So after the development of the values, the next milestone is to work together to complete the crosswalk mapping from our old FAU values to the new COA values. So we are creating a mapping tool to allow campus to do this. It is critical. This complete mapping of all the segments of our chart of accounts must be complete by early April for us to stay on track with the program. And then finally, the last stage is testing, which will begin in May. So with that, I'll turn it back to OT to talk about Bruin Finance.
Thanks, Selena. Bruin Finance is the Oracle implementation is directly impacted by the chart of accounts that Selena just spoke to and the procurement system implementation. Really, it's providing transparency. You will see the benefits of this from implementing Bruin Finance as real-time data and enhanced reporting capabilities, the increase of mobility and self-service capabilities, scalable and elastic system environment, and consistency of data. One of the things that we find is that data is very consistent across the university and the systems that we currently have. So you'll see that transparency and availability of correct data in the new system. The scope. So on the left side of the screen is a diagram that depicts the focus of the financial system replacement. Our functional managers are aligned with the business processes you see here. There will also be leads for planning and budgeting tools and the chart of accounts reporting, which crosses all modules. The technical teams have work pillars and they share responsibilities for the following areas: Jagger procurement, data integrations, applications development, support, core system retrofit, data conversion, software as a service, infrastructure upgrades, enterprise and Oracle financial reporting, security, application, and identity management. You'll see all these things come together in the system. And then finally, our project timeline. From October 2022 to August of 2025, where the yellow represents Brew-and-Buy Plus, the blue is the chart of accounts, and gray represents the run finance work. The user acceptance testing will be offered as a means to get feedback from select finance leaders and end users, and training will be delivered in the months leading up to each project's go live date. Right now in the Brew and Finance strand of work, we are in the design thinking phase of the program, participating in business process design workshops to think through business process redesign and associated change impacts. With that, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, OT. I'm Yoon Lee, and I'm here today to introduce a couple of concepts that will affect the research area in the Ascent 2.0. So this slide shows multiple sub-modules that exist in Oracle. Expenditure of all the sponsored project, contract and grant expenses will be managed through a module called PPM. Which stands for Project Portfolio Management. And then contract and grant accounts receivable will be handled through the AR module. So you see these two modules in the gray boxes are highlighted in yellow, and then that's where a lot of research accounting activities will take place. Next slide, please. Earlier, Selena introduced the new chart of accounts for the general ledger. For the sponsored project, expenses will be recorded to the PPM subledger using POIT-AF you see in this slide. So POIT-AF is basically a string of attributes that are assigned to each expenditure, which will indicate what sponsored project this expense belongs to, and what types of expenses it is, and so on, which I'm going to get into a bit in a minute. For now, it is important to note that POIT-AF is different from the COA, in that COA will be used in the general ledger, while POIT-AF will be used in the PPM subledger. So in the future, when recording contract and grant expenses, it will be important to understand which POIT-AF needs to be used to record it correctly to explain what that expense is about. So all the expenses recorded using POIT-AF in the PPM subledger will be still ultimately rolled off to the general ledger using the mapping that will be established between POIT-AF and then COA. However, GL, the general ledger in the future, will have a summarized level of the data, and then detailed transaction level data will be available in the PPM subledger. And this is the area that I would like to note that it will be different from the current state, where we can see all detailed transaction level data in the general ledger. But tomorrow, you will see the detailed transaction data in the PPM subledger, not in the general ledger. So each segment in the POIT-AF is briefly explained here in this slide. Not to go over each segment in details, but I would like to highlight a few segments just to help understanding POIT-AF a bit. So starting with the award segment that you see, the second from the bottom, this will indicate a unique sponsored award UCLA receives. So one award will be created in Oracle for each unique sponsored award that UCLA receives. So you can think of it like a fund number in the current FAU for most cases. A project number in the POIT-AF segment will be used as a vehicle to segregate the budget and expenses within the one sponsored award when there is a need to do so. So this means one award in Oracle can have a one project number, or one award in Oracle can have a multiple project numbers underneath as necessary. So for this case, we don't quite have a perfectly equivalent field in the current FAU for this, but the closest one, we can think of will be a combination of expense account and cost center, if that helps to understand the concept a bit. Then, unlike a project number that does not really have a perfect, equivalent fielding in FAU, a segment like an expenditure type will have a perfect match, which is an object code in today's FAU. But as you can see, not all segments in the POID AF have equivalent fields in today's FAU. So with that said, next slide, please. The project team is not only working on mapping the FAU to the COA, but also are in the process of mapping the FAU to the new POID AF segments for the sponsored country and grant expenses. And then obviously more updates will be provided as progress is made. So with that, I will pass it to Jennifer Ferry for the next topic.
Great. Thank you so much, Yoon, and thank you so much to all of you that are joining me today. We'll now spend a few moments going through the change management and communications that we have planned around the Ascend 2.0 program. The Ascend program has 5 advisory committees that meet on a monthly basis, and they will do so throughout the entire duration of the program. Their role is to provide feedback, guidance, insight, and perspective on behalf of the UCLA community to the program team. You can see here that the advisory committees include one that's focused on change management, finance, research, sustainment, as well as technology enablement. It is important to note that these committees serve in an advisory capacity, not a decision-making one. A key strength of these communities and the design of them is that they have representation from what we call all 4 corners of the UCLA campus. Overall, the advisory committees will elevate and give voice to our stakeholder needs and perceptions, ensuring that these are bubbled up and that our program team can address as needed. As part of the 2.0 program, we will be introducing a Change Leader Network. Many of you have been actively submitting your nominations for those individuals that will be a part of this network. The Change Leader Network is composed of key leaders from across the university, from both a finance and a procurement perspective. The change leaders themselves are UCLA employees in specialized professional services who are involved in the day-to-day operations of procurement and financial systems. The group will work to foster positive relationships and strong two-way communication between the program team and our campus. The change leaders will serve as a link, which is really critical to the overall program, as it will provide that connection between the program team and the campus so that, again, there is a collective sharing of perspective insights, as well as an opportunity to disseminate program updates to end users across the campus. Change leaders have a couple of key responsibilities. As part of their role, they meet monthly as a group, and they'll attend program-wide events as well as activities. They will then take this information that they've gleaned from these forums to spread awareness and key information with the campus, as well as continuously collect concerns, questions from the community, and raise them to the program team. Change leaders may also be in this role asked to participate in perhaps UAT, train the trainer, end user training, or that they may ask to solicit the support of others and recommend individuals within their unit to participate in these events as well. So the UCLA community, as we move forward, will have a number of opportunities to stay engaged and stay informed about the Ascend 2.0 program in the coming weeks and months. In the immediate future, members of the community can stay up to date on activities underway in the program by visiting our Ascend 2.0 website. You also have the opportunity to attend community-wide events such as the town hall that we're having here today, which is exciting to see that we have so many interested individuals across the campus that are already tuning in. In the coming months, the Change Leader Network will be launched, as well will newsletters about the program will be distributed to campus on a regular basis. We will also be instituting surveys so that we can continuously take a pulse check and gauge stakeholder readiness. We'll have opportunities for individuals to test the system through UAT, which is user acceptance testing, to make sure that they become comfortable with the system, the processes, and the program overall. We'll have virtual conferences. We'll have formal training opportunities, and then we will be instituting office hours and open labs as we approach the go live. So overall, in summary, how do I get involved? Well, over the course of the program, there'll be many ways to engage with the program team, explore the new system, as well as learn about ways in which your role and daily tasks may change through this implementation. In short, you may stay informed by reviewing the website, as well as reading the to be launched monthly newsletter. You can get engaged by participating in community-wide events, as well as encouraging your team to attend as well. And you can also spread the word about Ascend 2.0 by sharing resources, communications, and general opportunities to learn more about the program with your colleagues. All right, so with that, thank you again for joining us today, and I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Mark, who will facilitate our Q&A.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, and thank you to all of my colleagues for that great overview. We know that there are a lot of questions, and as we said, we'll be having a lot of opportunities to be back in front of you through all those vehicles that Jennifer just talked about. Plus, we'll also be conducting other town halls. We'll also make the transcript of this town hall available to you as well through the website. And also, if the questions become overwhelming, we'll actually take all those questions and we will post answers as well. So thank you so very, very much. Let's go ahead and we'll start with a question. And I'm just going to go on. If it says answer live, we're going to go through and ask the question. Question came up in a previous slide. Did it say UCOP was already using the COA?
Yeah,
go ahead, Selena.
so UCOP is using what we call the CCOA. It's the Common Chart of Accounts, which is different from the Future State Chart of Accounts, or COA, that we are working on implementing. But there will be a mapping from our COA to the Common Chart of Accounts that all universities, all campuses have to report beginning in July 2023.
Thank you, Selena. Appreciate it. Another question, how will the GL lines change with the new COA? How do we compare existing GL to new GL for year-over-year reporting? Chris, would you like to tackle that one?
Yes. We will be converting 2 years of FAU to COA data starting with this fiscal year that we're in. We have an intensive process to map all of our FAUs. We have about 2 million unique combinations of those to the new chart of accounts. We're undertaking that work already. It will be facilitated by an online tool that the Ascend project team is developing. And we'll be working with end users, financial experts, mapping experts across the campus over the next couple of months to roll out that tool and convert every FAU to the new chart of accounts. When we go live in Oracle in 2025, our first active year in Oracle, you will have converted balances for the previous 2 years. So this fiscal year of 23 and FY24 as well, for comparison purposes.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Next question, would technical training be provided to both hub and spoke model system IT? And what is the flexibility priority we get to turn around issues enhancements from vendors? Mark, would you like to answer that question? Mark Maltz?
Sure. Absolutely. We will make sure technical training is provided, and all the support teams that are involved will have access to that training.
Thank you very much, Mark. Question came up. how are the COA and POET-AF related? At first, it looked like the old FAUs would be mapped to the new COA, but now it looks like they likely will be mapped to POET-AF. And could we please elaborate a little bit more and clear up that relationship? Dawn, would you like to answer that question? Or actually, I think maybe, I'm sorry, Hyun is probably better suited for that one.
I would be happy to answer that question. So all the expenses on the contract and grant funds, they will need to be mapped to POET-AF because all the contract grant expenses will need to be recorded in the PPM subledgers. However, all those expenses in the PPM subledgers still need to be posted to the general ledger. So there will be a separate mapping between POET-AF and the COA fields. So today, if we think about it in a little bit simplified manner, if you have an expensive funds that you are managing for the contract and grants, those things need to be mapped to the POET-AF. And then for the non-CNG area, then they will need to be mapped directly to the COA. But even for those CNG expenses that are being mapped to POET-AF, again, they will be rolled off to the general ledger that is using COA. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Hyun. Appreciate it. Just going through these here. Question that came up is, how will this impact PO and concur allocations? I think either Mark or Janelle, could you take that?
Sure, Mark. Sorry, I'm looking for that question. Can you repeat it one more time?
Janelle, how will this impact PO and concur allocations? Yeah, I think that is either general ledger specific or PO specific.
And I can try. I don't know if I'm the right expert, but I know that these systems will be separate. So Jagger, Broom by Plus, that will house and keep all of the purchase orders and invoices, and Concur will be more of payments for employees, students, and travel. But I don't know if that totally touches that.
Another question that comes up is, with Bruin by Plus, does this mean we are considering sunsetting Transcepta? Don't want to migrate all of our vendors if things are going to change in the next year or so. Actually, that question was directed directly to you, so if you would please. Or
OT, do you want to take this one?
I'll take
OT.
Yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
OT.
Yeah, so Transcepta will be phased out over time. It won't just be sunsetted right away. But as we roll out the Bruin by Plus and provide invoice visibility to departments through Bruin by Plus, we will migrate vendors from Transcepta to the new tool over time, but it won't happen within the next year.
Thank you, OT. Next question, will the reference section of the current FAU be integrated into the new COA? Chris?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question? I was responding to somebody else at the time.
Oh, that's okay. This is great. Questions are coming in fast and furious. We really appreciate it from all of you. Will the reference section of the current FAU be integrated into the new COA?
Yes, the reference field in the current FAU is not considered technically part of a segment of that. We will have replacement functionality. Our new chart of accounts has 10 segments. There'll be additional ability to record other transactional information outside of those 10 segments. Say in the description field, there'll be a description field and other fields available for recording other details around transactions.
Thanks, Chris. Question that comes up, will there be a period that the old system and the new system being overlapped and active so we have an accurate cross-check if the data and report is accurate? We were provided with another tool to So basically the question is, will the systems be up and running simultaneously for a period of time? Actually, I think what we'll do is Janelle and or Mark answer that for brew and buy, and then we'll come back to Oracle.
Yeah, I can take that. So we're working on our transition plan currently. That has yet to all be finalized and detailed out. We do recognize that there needs to be the ability to have access to both systems for transactional purposes. So once we have that all detailed out, we will send ample communication to campus so you are prepared and know what that transition plan looks like.
Thank you, Janelle. And from the Oracle side, it's a very similar answer. If you took a look at the timeline, you'll see that the conversion and the cutover happens, right in the middle of the fiscal year, at the end of our second quarter fiscal. So part of our go live is to make sure that we have all the data in the new system to report effectively on the whole fiscal year, but also we will analyze what the what the requirements are for keeping both around. And that will be part of communications. That'll also be part of training. So as we get a little bit closer to that, we'll have a more definitive plan on what that looks like. So let's see, other questions that come up. Are all of our ledger reports going to be completely overhauled with the chart of accounts for POET AF? And also, I think, comment, we've got some work to do in explaining the difference between the two. Will we still run ledger reports the same way we are now? Will they look the same, or are they going to be different? That's sort of a team answer, I think. Probably on the answer to that is they are going to look different. We are, spending a lot of time on gathering reporting requirements and understanding how how that is going to affect. We have we'll be forming a group of people that are going to look at reporting from both the academic and the operational perspective. It is a different system. It is a different language. So there is going to be changes in those reports. But what we will make sure that we do is that all the data that is necessary to run the business is there, and that if that report format's different and how to run it is different, we'll make sure we train on it. Another question that's come up is, what is different this time with 2.0? What are we doing differently? In Ascend, why did we pause Ascend 1.0 and what's different now? I think Selena talked a little bit about that, but, I will give her another opportunity to follow up on that.
There were issues with Ascend 1.0. I wasn't here back during Ascend 1.0, but I think there were likely better ways to handle the project management, the staffing and the balance of staffing between internal staffing and external consultants likely was not ideal. I'll pause there and ask the executive sponsors if they'd like to add anything to those comments.
Thanks, Selena. I'm happy to comment, and I think there were many issues that were primarily associated with insufficient rigor with the project management, as you alluded to, and certainly not adequately staffed for the expected level of change management across the campus organization and the expected need for engagement. There was also sort of insufficient planning associated with post-go live and how the system was going to be supported. And ultimately, there wasn't sufficient engagement with the overall campus community. And I feel confident that all of those issues have been resolved, as well as other findings, and we have the right team in place and the right rigor associated with documentation and process that will enable us to move forward much more successfully.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Questions, how can someone participate in academic advisory committees or non-academic advisory committee? I think that might be a typo, but Selena, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, the advisory committee memberships have already been determined, and we've engaged campus. We've to determine that membership. Many, if not all, of the old steering committee members from the Ascend 1.0 are included in those advisory committee memberships. But if someone is interested, if the person who posed this question is interested in becoming engaged, there are so many ways to be engaged in this project. Please just reach out to us, and we'll figure out what's the right way to engage you based on your role. And again, we're really happy when people want to engage with the project.
Thank you, Selena. Question came up. The team met with UCSD, University of San Diego, and had some feedback from them. What was the major issue learned from UCSD in implementing Oracle? I'll take a stab at that. And I'd also like Selena to join in, and Lucy as well. We all three of us met with UC San Diego, as well as other members of our team. In fact, a good number of our program owners and project team members went down there. We spent a whole day in a basically a symposium with UCSD, Merced, and representatives from all 10 of the UC colleges, as well as the Office of the President. We talked about implementations. We talked about the work that was done, and I think some of the key lessons learned that came out of it, they center around really three different areas, around data and data cleanup, human resources and the effect that it has on human resources, and and making sure that we staff appropriately, both as a project team, but also in looking at how do we staff as an organization. There's no getting around it. It's a different financial language and there are new tools, and there is going to be a learning curve, a steep learning curve. And I think one of their messages is don't underestimate it and make sure that we have the appropriate staff in place. So as we're going through these process designs, and as we're looking at reporting, I'll talk about reporting in a minute. We go through these process designs, we look at what is the overall effect to the units, and we're going to be able to publish that and work with it. The other is that I'm fully aware, we all acknowledge that everybody is resource constrained at UCLA right now. It is just a tough labor market, and we have a number of organizations that are working on a shoestring. And we've committed to looking at those on a case-by-case basis with schools, and how can we best deal with it. And that's something that we've committed to it. So it's around people, training, make sure we have the right staff, make sure the reporting actually meets business needs. That was another item that came up. And that means, using a lot of tools like data warehousing, making sure that financial and operational data mesh well and meld well. And then we understand what our schools are needing to do with those. Selena, Lucy, anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah.
Would really appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, that's agree with everything that Mark mentioned. In addition, I'll add, and I mentioned this earlier in the presentation, our focus and investment in Ascend 2.0 in change management and in hypercare. So hypercare is that period of time after go live. It's a vulnerable period of time, and it's a time where we need to plan that time frame very well to make sure that campus and users are supported. And we know from speaking with our sister campuses who've already implemented Oracle and other institutions that hypercare is also hypercare is so important that institutions who don't implement a proper amount of hypercare typically end up having to extend their contracts for hypercare and extend that effort. Yeah, we did learn a lot from our sister campus, and we are taking all of that very seriously.
I agree with my colleagues, and what I would like to add is that this isn't just a technology implementation project. And as Selena said, we recognize the need for investing in very thoughtful organizational change management, making sure that those who will be impacted by this change, our key users, are comfortable with the system, know how to operate in the new environment, and that the distributed units throughout the campus are staffed adequately to be able to work in this new platform, right? So it's really the people change that we're focusing on, not just the technology. And that was a great lesson learned from UC San Diego's implementation, among the other things that Mark and Selena mentioned.
Yeah, I just one other follow-up comment. Yeah, I've seen a question. There's been questions, and we've heard feedback in that some of the project tasks that we do, or we are asking schools and units and central departments to, to work on. If it is something that it is really, obviously we can't staff the whole university, but if there are areas where there are significant issues from a resource perspective, please bring them forward, and we'll work through them as a program ownership group with you. And handle it on a case-by-case basis. So I'm more than happy to partner with you all on that as well. We have a few more questions. We got a few more minutes. And also what we will do is take all of these questions. We have the transcript, and we will answer every one of these in an FAQ, and we will publish it back on the website and send you all out a notice as to where to find it. Again, another question and follow up on PaymentWorks. I hope to implement a plan that is seamless as possible for vendors. The migration to PaymentWorks Transcepta was and is a painful, opaque process that has frustrated and alienated a lot of vendors. Many have threatened to not do business with UCLA again. Will the new transition require any re-registering for vendors, or can it, please, migrate the information already gathered without forcing vendors to resubmit and jump through hoops? OT, I think you would like to answer this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I want to, because there were a couple of questions about Transcepta in there. So Transcepta, for whatever reason, when it was implemented back in 2016, 17, the decision was made not to provide visibility to invoices to the campus. In the new tool, campus will have visibility into the invoices. And we are going to work to provide a seamless transition of vendors from Transcepta to the new tools of Learn by Plus, so that the impact will be minimal. We are looking at, so vendors that are currently in Transcepta are probably already enrolled in PaymentWorks, so that shouldn't be an issue. But PaymentWorks will continue to be our onboarding tool. All PaymentWorks is it gathers the information and provides a secure location for banking information for our vendors. PaymentWorks is not a payment tool, so that shouldn't be an issue going forward. So those vendors that are currently on Transcepta, we'll work to migrate them to the new tool. They shouldn't have to re-register, and you will have visibility into those invoices.
Thank you, OT. Appreciate it. Yoon, go ahead and answer. I see in the chat there's a question from Laura. Yoon, if you would like to answer that.
I would be happy to. The question that was asked is actually quite long, but I think I can summarize what this question is about for the group. The question is the current use of the project field in today's FAU, how this will be translated into POIT-AF for the contract and grant funds. So currently the POIT-AF does not actually have a segment that will be exactly tied to the current project code in the FAU. The reason is that, as probably everybody knows, that most people know that project code in the FAU is being used very freely by the department at the department discretion. So the project team is now in the process of collecting the different business use that each department may have, how they are really using those project field in the FAU, so that we can develop the solutions for those cases. But the POIF segment itself, the string does not really have a segment for today's project code in the FAU.
Okay. Thank you, Hyun. Appreciate it.
Of course.
And thank you to all of our panelists for all of your great answers to the questions. And we know that we've gotten more, and we really appreciate all of the participation and all the questions. As I had mentioned earlier, we will take all of these questions as part of the transcript, and we will be publishing answers for them to you. Really want to thank you all for attending our town hall. We hope you found this informative. Stay tuned. There will be more town halls like this. We really, one of the other lessons we learned from San Diego is communicate, and over communicate. So we'll apologize in advance for over communicating, but we want to make sure you all stay informed. Look for us out on the web, our websites. We'll make sure we publish all of the, the appropriate links to you all. And thank you so much for spending the day with this early morning with us. We know your time is very valuable, and we look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. So with that, I will call us adjourned, and I hope everybody has a great day.